Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2025. Commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 78 years of independence and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 and Viksit Bharat at 2047. As part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Arts, Sciences and Well-being. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's commemorations. Today is commemorated as Day of Remembrance for all victims of chemical warfare on 30th November. The Conference of the State Parties to the Chemical Weapons Convention at its 20th session decided that a Memorial Day of Remembrance for all victims of chemical warfare would be observed on 30th November each year or when appropriate on the first day of the regular session of the conference. So this commemorative provides an opportunity to pay tribute to the victims of chemical warfare as well as to reaffirm the commitment of the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, OPCW, to the elimination of the threat of chemical weapons, thereby promoting the goals of peace, security, and multilateralism. So the third review conference of states parties to the Chemical Convention held 18 to 19 April 2013 in Hague, the Netherlands, adopted by consensus a political declaration that confirms the unequivocal commitment of the states parties of the global chemical weapons ban and a comprehensive review of CWC implementation since the last review conference in 2008, which also maps out of the OPCW's priorities for the coming 5 years. So the history of the serious efforts to achieve chemical disarmament that culminated in the conclusion of the Chemical Weapons Convention began more than a century ago. Chemical weapons were used on a massive scale during World War I, resulting in more than 1 lakh fatalities and a million casualties. However, chemical weapons were not used on the battleground in Europe in World War II, following World War II, and with the advent of the nuclear debate, several countries gradually came to the realization that marginal value of having chemical weapons in their arsenals was limited, while the threat posed by the availability and proliferation of such weapons made a comprehensive ban desirable. Adopted in 1993, the Chemical Weapons Convention entered into force on 29th April 1997. It determined, for the sake of all mankind, to exclude completely the possibility of the use of chemical weapons. As per the preamble, the state parties to the convention established the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons to achieve the object and purposes of the convention to ensure the implementation of its provisions, including those for international verification of compliance with it, and provide a forum for consultation and cooperation among state parties. Article 8. So in 2018, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres launched Securing Our Common Future, an agenda for disarmament, outlining a vision of disarmament actions that help set our world on a path towards sustainable peace and security for all. One of the actions of the agenda include work for the Secretary General with the members of the Security Council in order to build new leadership and unity in restoring respect for the global norm against chemical weapons. Today is also commemorated as International Shift Workers Sunday on November 30, annually on the last Sunday of November. It's all about celebrating the hourly workers who keep our communities thriving through all of their life's moments, big or small, exciting or nerve-wracking, shift after shift. This day was initiated with a vision of creating thriving workplaces in every community. On International Shift Worker Day, we honor the workers who make sacrifices even they often miss special occasions or events and work regardless of the time of the day. But who is a shift worker? A shift worker is a person who works in shifts, often changing schedules and working outside the standard 9 to 5 p.m. working day. From our daily shop at the coffee shop to a loud one surprise birthday dinner or even the nerve-wracking doctor's appointment, shift workers are there supporting us through it all. And and if ask shift workers how do they like to be recognized for a job well done, the response is almost unanimous. A simple thank you goes a long way. A shift worker is an employee who works shifts and get payment for working shift hours. Shift work include evening, daytime, night, and early morning shifts with fixed or rotating schedules. Shift work jobs can create an opportunity for more flexible working hours, days, and or schedules. Many shift work roles allow shift workers to interact face to face with their community and create memorable experience for customers. A shift worker clocks in for a shift, whether it be an opening shift, a closing shift, or anything in between, and typically gets paid by the hour. Think of the cashier at your local market, or the mechanic, the retail worker, or the nurse you see. This is the day to show gratitude for those moments and return the favor in making their day. There are many ways you can show your gratitude for a shift worker on International Shift Worker Day. You can leave a great tip, write a standard review, write thank you notes, and give them a gift card to your favorite local business, to name a few. Many businesses are short-staffed and experience rushes through the holiday season. Remember to be extra patient. Thank the shift workers you interact with that for service and consider doing an act of kindness for them. There are 2.7 billion shift workers worldwide, making up over 80% of the world's workforce. According to a survey, one in every two shift workers wants more recognition at work. Joining us in recognizing shift workers on International Shift Workers Sunday and year round, and following along as they work to build happier, healthier, more engaged workplaces every day. The average age of a shift worker is 34 years old. On average, shift workers work 17 shifts per month and even then make may take more or fewer shifts as needed. Particularly in the healthcare industry, shift workers take the most of the time off sick. The pandemic helped highlight the role of shift workers in the healthcare industry, including the exposure to sickness. The busiest day for shift workers in many industries is Friday. You can find many shift workers working on weekends and even holidays. Rotating shifts is usually tough and consuming and often requires sacrifices as the time passes. Regardless, 40.5% of shift workers say they feel happy at work. Shift workers work tirelessly to make our communities what they see, often working difficult hours and still going the extra mile to make their customers happy. Shift workers fulfill essential roles in our society, especially during the holiday season, making this month the perfect time to thank the shift workers in our lives for their hard work. On a typical day out of the town, you likely interact with or benefit from the work of countless shift workers, many of whom who may be employed by small and local businesses. Those little moments throughout the day can often make the biggest differences, yet often go without the recognition they deserve. This season is one of the most stressful times of the year for shift workers. While it is important to celebrate shift workers every day, International Shift Workers Sunday provides a great opportunity for communities to come together and celebrate those from industries that often work hardest this time of the year, like retail, hospitality, healthcare, delivery, logistics, and so on. Today is also commemorated as Perpetual Youth Day, which is celebrated annually on November 30 in US. So this day is celebrated to mark the birthday of one of the greatest television presenters and pioneers of rock and roll music, Dick Clark. His show, American Bandstand, was on air for over 30 years, becoming the most sought after show by youth across the country and the stepping stone for many great artists we have now come to know and love. This American icon paved the way for racially inclusive TV shows and helped people fall in love with the rock and roll. Perpetual Youth Day is celebrated in recognition of Clark's success and his impact on youth over the years. Day is also commemorated as Native Women's Equal Pay Day on November 30 in US, which is observed every year. This day marks the day that Native women need to work until they made what the white men made in the previous year. In other words, it takes Native women 21 months to earn what white men earn in 12 months due to disparity in pay. This is an important issue to highlight, and this day brings it to light by spreading awareness about the inequality of pay for women. This day encourages us to raise awareness on such a topic and recognize the numerous struggles that women face. Wage gaps in terms of gender and race, have been around since the beginning of civilization. In US, it wasn't until 1860s that the public raised their voice against the disparity under the rally cry of equal pay for equal work. This was spearheaded by women's rights activists Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, who made a case for bridging the wage gap in their newspaper. The revolution and the speeches such as the power of the ballot to bring women equal pay for equal work with the adoption of Equal Pay Act in 1963, the next significant attempt to fix the disparity of national level come 2 decades later. It made it illegal for business to pay male and female employees different wages for jobs that require equal ability, effort, and responsibility and perform under identical working conditions. It did, however, allow for few exceptions such as compensation packages based on seniority or merit. So, when President John F. Kennedy signed the bill into law, he stated that paying men and women different rates for the same work as unconscious practice, noting that the average woman worker gets barely 60% of the average wage for men. A year later, in 1964, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act was enacted, making it illegal to make judgments based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. However, the gender and race disparity in pay has persisted in society and is larger for certain groups than others. Native women make 60 cents per every dollar made by white men. They have to put in additional 6 months of work to earn what a white man does in a year. This inequality needs to be brought to the forefront, and awareness is the first step to it. Hence, September 8th of every year is dedicated to be Native Women's Equals Pay Day. Today is also commemorated as National Stay at Home Because You Are Well Day in US. On November 30 annually, this day was created to encourage us to take day off to rest and rip from our busy work schedules, and not just because we are ill or need to fake an illness to get personal time off. Today is also commemorated as National Personal Space Day in US on November 30 to honor and respect the need for personal space established by public health specialist Carol Winner in 2019. The day reminds that the boundaries are good and must be maintained in a civil society. Advocating for our boundaries is not easy, but is an important factor that contributes to our healing. Having a co-worker with the need of Get Cozy National Personal Space Week is a great day for you to tell them off. Today is also commemorated as National Mousy Day on November 30th every year this week. The word mousy is derived from French. In Old French, it means froth or foam. As the name suggests, this appetizer is made by beating whites and cream until they turn light and fluffy like foam. Although it is more popularly served as a dessert, mousy can be prepared as a savory. Depending on the type of mousy, its consistency can vary from thick and creamy to light and airy. Originally prepared in France, mousy found its way into US only in the late 19th century. Today is also commemorated as National Mississippi Day on November 30. Every year it is a day dedicated to honoring the great state of Mississippi. Mississippi was the 20th state to join the Union of US. It had a great influence on the music industry. It also has historical relevance in the civil rights movement. It helped to influence the resolutions of interracial conflicts. The state is named after Mississippi River, which flows through its western boundary. The river is one of the most iconic US landmarks. It is also a fun addiction to spell games. The Mississippi is home to many people who are proud of their state and are happy to celebrate. Today is also commemorated as National Messenger Day on November 30, which was originally invented with a patented screw top on that allow people to safely use can and pickle fruits and vegetables grown in the garden. We also use them for drinking glasses, vases, and even candle holders. Today is also commemorated as National Computer Security Day on November 30. Every year, because cybersecurity affects everything from where we bank and how we spend our money to whom we elect to public office. We certainly don't want to replay of Maidu, the worst email virus in the history, which caused $38.5 billion in damage. So let's get educated on staying safe online. The importance of computer security is highlighted on National Computer Security Day on November 30. It seems like every day we hear about breaches in cybersecurity. Keeping people and companies safe online is a top priority all over the world. It's something that stays uppermost in our minds. National Computer Security Day. The story of National Computer Security Day is an interesting one. On November 2nd, 1988, Cornell University researchers uncovered as unknown virus lurking in their computer screens. Within 4 hours of discovery, the Morris worm virus invaded several other university systems as well as ARPANET and early version of today's internet. 6 days later, two computer experts with the US Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, recommended assembling a National Computer Infection Action Team, in short known as NCAT, to respond 24 by 7, 365 to these kinds of attacks. On November 14, the Software Engineering Institute, in short known as SEI, a research center connected with Carnegie Mellon University, set up the Computer Emergency Response Team known as CERT. In short, in 1988, the National Computer Security Day sprang out of the Washington, D.C. chapter of the Association of Computing Machinery, in short known as ACM, Special Interest Group on Security Audit and Control, as a way to raise awareness about cyber crimes and viruses. According to a 2004 NetWorld article, November 30 was chosen for CSD so that attention on computer security would remain high during this holiday season, when people are typically more focused on the busy shopping season than thwarting security threats. By 2003, CERT and US Department of Homeland Security joined forces to create National Cyber Awareness System. Whether we are talking about National Security Day or National Cyber Security Awareness Month, also in October, the goals are essentially the same. Each person must be proactive to protect their online security. Use this month to find out all you can about common sense ways to stay safe in cyberspace. So create a strong password. In computer security, length matters. Passwords that are 6 characters are easier to hack, especially if they are only made of lowercase letters. To beef up your password, weave a 9-character combination of uppercase letters, lowercase letters, symbols, and numbers. Lastly, avoid using the same password for every account. Update spyware and malware protection software. First, check to see if your operating system is up to date. If that's set, update your protection software. Run a scan and don't forget to invite your other devices to the party. Phones and tablets are also major security risks to be diligent. Encrypt and back up your data to create the brainiest of the brain teasers. Must keep this in mind, even the brain teaser can be cracked. So that's why it's still important to take a backup of your info on either the cloud or the external hard drive. Just make sure that everything stays encrypted. Human intelligence is the best defense against phishing attacks. Most companies have 6 months, take 6 months to detect a data breach, and it's usually too late. Share prices fall 7.2% on average after a data breach. And small to medium business are just prone to data breaches as large corporations. Employees who do not follow guidelines have become the top barrier to IT security, which is a crucial factor. Whether it's a bank account or pics that you should never have taken, your personal life, well, personal, the day is a reminder that we deserve to have our privacy protected and we can't rely on programmers alone to do the job. Regularly updating antivirus software, using strong passwords, and encrypting data are all measures we can take on your own. Make sure your records of the bad old days stays in your memories, not in strangers' news feed. This day reminds us that virus spread if you link an infected device to someone else's device. You put your security at risk. From there, it doesn't take much to compromise an entire network. Security system engineers are unsung heroes, staying one step ahead of hackers. It's challenging, especially when technology changes so quickly. Computer Security Day is perfect to show your appreciation for the work of these professional hacker fighters. There is also commemorated as Cities for Life Day on November 30, which falls annually. On November 30, we recognize the right of every human being to live. The day observed by cities around the world commemorates the first abolishment of the death penalty. The concept of abolishment of capital punishment was first mentioned in a 1964 treatise written by Cesare Beccaria in the West, in which he argued against the death penalty as punishment. There is one thing no force on earth can take away from each of us, that is our right to live. That was, however, not the case in our justice system when the death penalty was established. This brash criminal punishment is as old as human civilization and was more popular than we would like to admit. That was until Caesar Beccaria, one of the greatest European Enlightenment writers of the time, had something to say about it. He is noted for his masterpiece on criminal law and the reform system on crimes and punishments, which he published in 1764. In fact, the work is so notable that it has been translated into 22 languages. Beccaria put forth some of the first modern arguments against the death penalty, which made its first full-scale work to tackle criminal reform and to suggest that criminal justice comply with rational principles. Beccaria also argued against torture, believing it was cruel and unnecessary to treat another human being in such a way. As a consequence, Grand Duchy of Tuscany in Italy became the first pre-Unitarian state to abolish the death penalty on November 13, 1786, under the reign of Pietro Leopold II. This made Tuscany the first civil state in the world to do away with torture and capital punishment. In 2002, in the memory of this anniversary, the community of Sant Egidio began promoting the Cities of for Life Day worldwide with the support of international human rights organizations. Since then, the death penalty has become less and less common in the world at large. Today is also commemorated as Barbados Independence Day. In Barbados, on November 30th every year, this day commemorates the island's country's independence from Britain after over 360 years as a British colony. Barbados Independence Day is marked by the lighting of the Parliament buildings and office buildings throughout Bridgetown. Roundabouts on the highways of Barbados are also lit up, creating a spectacular view at night. Celebrations run throughout November and include highlights such as community independence celebrations, arts and sports competitions, social events, and religious services. The National Day is a public day when schools, business, and offices are closed. But if November 30 falls on a weekend, the next day will be a public holiday on Monday. So with this, we shall end today's commemorations. Thank you everyone for joining us in these commemorations and celebrations. See you all tomorrow at the same time with the same joining link. Before leaving, we request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form that has been shared in the form of vote. See you all tomorrow. Take care. Good night.